Before we get started tonight with our public comments on agenda items, we have one speaker. I would like to go ahead and present this proclamation, and I will read it here since we've got light and I can see better right here. This is a proclamation for the Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. And whereas motorcycles are increasingly used as a regular means of transportation for commuting, towing, and recreation, touring and recreation. I apologize, I can barely see. Do we need to, who's going to be coming up front to receive this? I'm sorry. Would y'all like to come up front? Thank you, I'm sorry. That would be good, but I'm going to have to stay right here to read it so I can see. I'm sorry. Let me start over. Thank you.
No, you're all right.
Whereas motorcycles are increasingly used as a regular means of transportation for commuting, touring, and recreation, and whereas motorcycles are energy-efficient vehicles that reduce fuel consumption, traffic, and parking congestion, and whereas motorcycles have the same right-of-way as all other forms of transportation, cars, trucks, etc. And whereas with motorcycle ownership in Arkansas is growing at an enormous rate, and with many more motorcycles on our streets and highways, May is recognized as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. And whereas Abate of Arkansas is highly involved in motorcycle safety and promotes friendship and safety among all motorcyclists, using its motto of Arkansas Bikers Aiming Towards Education. And whereas the City of Pine Bluff wishes to join in this public safety campaign in an effort to ensure the safety and well-being of its citizens, and is supported by the Pine Bluff Police Department. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Hollingsworth, Mayor of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim the month of May to be Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month in the City of Pine Bluff, and I encourage all citizens to be more aware of motorcycles this month and throughout the year. And with that, let's give them all a round of applause.
Are you giving plaques to all of the motorcycle clubs? I know a couple of real large ones that we have here in the city. So I didn't know anything about this because I would have let them know.
I'm not sure how that has come about, Ms. Horton. Pardon me?
They sent a proclamation to their office. They requested it.
It's a special grade.
Oh, okay. So I can tell them to
Yes.
request one.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Certainly can. Okay, we have one speaker tonight, Mr. Billy Ray. Mr. Billy Ray, thank you. He will be speaking on agenda item number 10.
It will be very short, very brief. Resolution, ordinance number 10. I ask you to vote no. I don't know whether you have seen by discovery through the city attorney or the state attorney general. This resolution is your guys' resolution to the city. Also, can we address the guys and girls that work here for the city that aren't included in the department heads? Just like the company I work with, started from the bottom and worked way up. You know, good idea, good philosophy, good work. Yes, you can seek out. But my suggestion is, before you do this, seeking consent, advice and consent from the state, through your city attorney, so we won't get in no trouble down the road. That's all I have to say, except for love one another, get involved in your neighborhood watch. We missed you. Your turn next. But please do. There are folks who do want to come to and see you at these meetings. Please come. Thank you very much. You don't have to get any.
Thank you. Thank you. The Pine Bluff City Council meeting for May the 4th, 2015 is hereby called to order. May we have roll call, please?
Alderman Brumman.
Here.
Alderman Steph.
Here.
Alderwoman Walker. Alderman Boyd.
Here.
Alderman Brown Senior.
Here.
Alderman Mays.
Here.
Alderman Holcomb.
Here.
Alderman Brown Jr.
Here.
Thank you. Each of you have a copy of the minutes
So
from
moved.
April the 6th. Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion has been made and properly second that the minutes from April the 6th be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Also in your packet, you have a set of minutes from April the 20th, 2015. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So move. Second.
Okay. We have a motion to approve, and it's been second, the minutes from April the 20th, 2015. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to committee reports, Ways and Means. Alderman Brumman.
Yes, Mayor, we have 3 budget adjustments that were in our packet for this week. The first one is involving a grant, establish revenue and expense accounts for Delta Regional Authority grant for University Drive projects. The total is $250,000. Basically, this is just setting up the accounts to be able to handle the money that we're going to get from the grant and disperse it. I move we accept this budget adjustment.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that a grant of $250,000 be approved for the University Drive project. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a request through the fire department for a captain that is retiring with 192 hours of vacation and 1,080 hours of sick leave. And we also have an additional firefighter that's retiring with 192 hours vacation and 1,080 hours of sick leave. And then an additional firefighter that's retiring with 144 hours of vacation pay. The total amount for all of them is $43,994.95. I move we accept this budget adjustment based on confirmation by the Human Resource and the Finance Department.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a budget adjustment in the amount of $43,994.95 be approved for vacation and sick leave, retirement, and vacation time for 3 different employees in the fire department. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a request from the cemetery department for a $300 adjustment to cover some repair and maintenance on an auto that, or a truck that they use in the cemetery. Basically, they're going to move the money from within the department, so there's no additional required from the general fund. I move we accept this budget adjustment from the cemetery department.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a budget adjustment in the amount of $300 to repair a vehicle for the cemetery be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, the Ways and Means Committee had a meeting with the Finance Department and reviewed the revenue versus expenses so far for the first quarter. And if you compare what we've taken in this year to last year, there's not that much difference. And when we got done with the actual analysis of it, we felt we were going to wait till the end of the second quarter to make any adjustment recommendations back to the full council. So everything's good. We're going to move on along. I move that we pay the bills that the city owes.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the bills for the city be paid. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes Ways and Means, Mayor.
Thank you. Ordinances and resolutions. Alderman Brummett.
Yes, Mayor, the Ordinance and Resolutions Committee met prior to the meeting. Items 1, 2, and 4 will be pulled from the agenda for tonight. And we will, numbers 3, 5, and 6 will be read for the second reading. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 will be read for the first reading, and we will complete the resolutions that are on the agenda.
Okay.
That concludes that report.
Thank you, sir. Economic and Community Development, Alderman Brown Sr.
No reporting, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Public Health and Welfare, Alderman Brown Jr.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public Works, Alderman Mays.
Mayor, we didn't have a meeting, but I have some comments on the 71602 zip code is still alive and well. It needs to be fixed. It was I seen picked this program up as recently, and it's Doc's Pawn Shop advertised with Whitehall, Arkansas, even though it's right there in Dollarway area, and it's showing the zip code. Any business in that area is showing Whitehall, Arkansas, and that's a major concern. And now the 712 Whitehall zip code is all the way down to 8th Street going south on Blake. Everything west is Whitehall from Carmart all the way back into the Whitehall city limit line. The boundary line is still important, and the 2020 census is still important. I want y'all to keep you abreast on that because it's a serious issue. Some think it's not. It's a very serious issue. And it's a lot of money entangled in there. But once we get the zip codes fixed, we send a letter to the post office. Mayor, have you received anything, a response back from that yet?
No, sir.
That's been 6 months ago. There's a lot of hold up on this, and we need to get that. We need to separate those zip codes as soon as possible. It's a very serious issue. One more issue for the citizens of Pine Bluff that I want you all to look at and help us with. It's the post office at 8th and Main. The service is just poor. I mean, and then they ask you to take a survey once you leave. All you can put on there, you had a bad survey. And for some reason, some higher powers are trying to close that post office down. I'm asking you, don't fill that survey out because you're going to eventually, all you're going to put is you had a bad experience there. And they want you to feel that way. You go there, it shouldn't take no more than 3 minutes to go in and get a stamp or whatever you're going to get. Any post office in the surrounding area, if you walk in there, you don't have to stay there all day. And the weekend is just terrible. You have one person there. So I'm asking the citizens of Pine Bluff to stand up to the postmaster there and let them know when you go in there that we need better service. That is ridiculous. And I think we all experienced that. And it's time for us to stand up to this post office and let them know that we want our post office here and we want better service. And it's just time for the citizens to stand up. Even when you go into a restaurant as well, ask for the manager. We need to upgrade our services and our customer service. It's getting to the point where it's not good at all. And we can do better than this.
hate to go.
We need to do better than this, what we're doing. But back to the post office, if you would, I've talked to one of the postmasters up in there, one of the managers, the post office, let them know that we want things to be better in Pine Bluff. Like, once again, you don't go there to stay all day just to get a book of stamps. You know, and it's time for the citizens, we got to wake up, people. We're losing this city, and that zip code, that 71602 zip code is a serious issue. Now, I'm warning you all, I'm telling you all again, I can't express that enough because I'm watching it, and it's in the 4th Ward, and it's coming up all the way to 13th. It's fixed to cross 13th down going over on the Gross and Lee Street, over in there. Just letting you all know, it's a serious issue, and I think we're taking it for granted. Every business is on Blake, from Carmart all the way down to Jefferson Parkway is Whitehall, Arkansas on the bottom of those zip codes. Even when you put your credit card in the machine, they ask for your zip code. It's a lot of money is being entangled on these things, and we're just acting like it's not happening. We're going to wake up and the city going to be gone. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now. I'm giving you a warning. Now, some of y'all think we're playing, and they're trying to water me down when I say this, but I'm watching it very closely. I'm probably watching it closer than most people up here. You know, my eyes is on it, and it's not right. It's not fair. You're right. It's not fair. We need to watch that. But once again, back to the post office, when you go into the post office, they got to get better. They must get better. And you all have experienced that post office, the main post office at 8th and Main. That's a disgrace to the citizens of Pine Bluff. And we need to let them know that. You know, they got one person in there, and some of us sit around and like are we going to sit there patiently just to send a package to, you know, get a stamp on it. But it's time for us to stand up and upgrade our city ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, Development and Planning, Alderman Boyd.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Traffic and Aviation, Alderman Holcomb Jr.
May have no report on traffic and aviation, but I want to do an update on the lighting situation. On last Wednesday, April 22nd, there was a meeting regarding the lighting situation update. There was a meeting with Mayor Hollingsworth, Alderman Glenn Brown Jr., Rick Roding, Steve Miller, along with 2 representatives from Energy, Jeff Collins and Cindy Thompson, to discuss the lighting issue of the city. It was a very productive first meeting, and we plan on meeting again in the very near future. And our first target will be the Greens Meadow area, and we plan on meeting again in the very near future. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Administration, Alderman Steps.
Mayor, we had a administration committee meeting on, I believe it was at April the 20th. We had 3 appeals, 2 suspension, 1 for 2 days, 1 for 4 days, and we had a termination appeal. And the committee reversed those decisions, and we had a unanimous support of the decision that was rendered.
Okay. At this time, I would like to, because of the recommendation from the Administrative Committee, I would like to see if any of the aldermen from the floor would like to discuss any of this in executive session as far as the termination goes. Anyone like to make a motion?
I move we go to executive session to review.
Do we have a second?
I don't know any details on it. I'd like to know.
What is the recommendation from the committee? Is this to overturn the appeal?
Yeah.
Overturn the original ruling?
Right.
Okay, well, I don't have a reason to not accept it. That's why the process is in place, to go by the administration committee's ruling. So,
Okay, then you'll be voting on something which you don't have a full knowledge of. Okay.
Well,
I concur with Alderman Brown, that that's how it's done. It goes before the committee, and the committee makes a recommendation and gives the council a report of what they've been done, and that's the end of it. Because, you know, we have to abide by it, whether we like it or not. Whether everybody is not going to agree with certain people being put back to work because they don't like the person. but that's what gets us in these big lawsuits.
May I ask this, okay, to the city attorney, what is the, typically, if there is an appeal, what is the process? Do we go into executive session every time, or is it just, do we accept the recommendation from the committee?
You would go into executive session if there was some discussion as it relates to the disciplinary action and there was some clarity that was needed. As it relates to the appeals process, essentially what happens is the employee appeals to the administration committee. The committee comes up with a recommendation, and then the committee submits that recommendation to the full council, and then the council shall render a final decision on the appeal. So once the recommendation's been given, then there's a motion to accept the recommendation, and then that's it. That's in accordance to our handbook that was, not sure when it was passed, but that's in accordance with the handbook.
Do you have a handbook with you?
I do.
Can you read that exact for us?
Okay.
We had gotten, did you have?
Let me say this, so we could eliminate going and pulling the handbook. It has been the practice of this committee, the administration committee, that once the administration committee renders a report, a committee report, it has been a binding committee. We have never had to come back out here and go into the executive session based on the recommendation of the administration committee. It has been the practice of this council, and I'm in my 11th year, and any of us that has been on the administration committee know that this report has been binding. Now, Mayor, it's difficult for me to understand where you're coming from, because there was a termination that we upheld on your behalf. You didn't bring it before the council for a review, and you go into executive session then. So we have to be fair in what we do and just in our dealings. And I think that's the thing that creates the problem. Once that committee brings the report back, the only person that can appeal that decision is the applicant themselves. That's their process. The department heads and directors appeals to the full council, but the employees appeals to the administration committee. And once that report has been given to the council as to what takes place, without going into any details, we never have gone into any details, and I don't plan to go into no details tonight concerning that. And Brumby, you know better than this. You've been on here longer than me. You know that we have never gone into no executive session. You talking about you wasn't there, you don't know about it. When we got ready to render our decision, we asked the mayor to even step out while we discussed it. And you know the process. So let's don't get here and act like the process is being flawed. This is the one that has been in the making for 11 years, I know. And I don't know what it was happening before then, but that is the process that we've gone through, and there ain't no reason to change it now. I don't plan to change it. I don't plan to go into an executive session to discuss a personnel issue without the employee even being here when the decision had been rendered.
Yes, please.
There's no requirement to go into executive session. That's not what I said.
Oh, now,
There's no
I wasn't talking
requirement.
about you. I'm talking about what he said.
Okay, the only thing that once the administration committee comes back and makes their recommendation to the full council, then at that point, the council votes on whether to accept the recommendation of the administration committee.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right, I understand that. I wasn't arguing with you.
Okay.
No, I was talking about the process itself and how it's been.
Right, and also in the past, we did not go decision by decision, that the committee gives a report on what was done, and at that point, the council okays all of the committee reports. And it's not done on an individual basis because you don't like the person that was reinstated. That's going to put us into a lawsuit. That's all.
All right, let's go ahead. I move that we accept the recommendations from the administration committee.
I second that.
Wait just a minute. We have a motion on the floor to go into executive session.
It failed without a second. I'll
Okay,
withdraw it.
okay. Now, we have a motion
Thank you,
on,
Alderman Brown. That's what needs to be done.
Okay.
okay, Your motion is to accept the recommendation.
From the administration committee.
You have a second? It's been properly moved and second that the recommendation from the administrative committee be accepted. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I have a question, with the person that is being reinstated. This is for, the city attorney. Is, the person to be, returned to work immediately?
Yes, ma'am.
So in this case, that would mean Monday.
Let me say
No,
this,
tomorrow. Tomorrow is,
Tomorrow.
yes, Tuesday.
if I may, Mayor. In that particular meeting I am a member of, and we did make the motion that since this person's firing, that if during the time they should have been back at work, if they missed any vacation time, or if they missed any paychecks, that they be paid in full force as a regular employee. That was motioned in that committee, and if we've already accepted that committee's report, so that means that she's due some checks.
You're saying the back pay, is that what you're referring to?
When she was fired during that time. We made that motion in the meeting, and it was voted upon tonight that we accept that committee's report. Now, I'm just trying to get it clear here so she won't have any problems later that with due process, she is deserving of checks and any vacation days or anything she lost during the time that she was not at work. Thank you.
Mayor, that's not the end of my report. On the last city council meeting, there was a vote to adjourn that meeting, which was a majority vote. And at that time, since then, the newspaper accounts, ministers have gone to the airways. The newspaper every other day has had a report in there about the walkout. But I'm just wondering if those same people that had admonished the council for leaving in a meeting that was adjourned, I have here a copy of the meeting of December 2013, where the mayor abruptly adjourned a meeting by herself without a vote. And I'm just asking the question. I don't need you all to raise your hand. I'm not trying to trick you. I just wonder how many ministers went on the radio and said the mayor was blocking city business, and she was holding this city up from doing business and taking care of city business. I just wonder how many times that the newspaper reported it every other day that when that meeting was abruptly adjourned, that it was blocking some decisions. And by all means, I'm just wondering how many calls that were made, how many articles that was written by this commercial. And the young man that came on, I applaud him for coming here. And the Reverend Justice Turner brought him here, and he read his speech, and he read a statement. And the newspaper blew it up. They said, oh, this young man, he's good, he's right. But I doubt he's ever had a water bill. I doubt he's ever had a light bill or a gas bill. So it's going to be very difficult for him to speak about economics when he has no experience on that. But my concern is, what happens when this same young man learns to pick his own battles and speak out on something that the newspaper don't think is what they want to hear? Will he be called an idiot? Will he be called the Three Stooges? Will he be called a clown? Yes. Will he be called an imbecile? These are all of the same names that have been called of me and some of the council members up here on this floor in the newspaper, and nobody ever said a word about it as long as you thought that they was identifying us. And they even might call him a coon. But my point is this: We ought not to exploit these young people to think and not have real knowledge, because I can tell you this, if he's going out of state to go to school somewhere, he will face some of these oppositions. Yes, sir. And I wonder who's going to be there to hold his hand when he does. I want to pass out some information here to the mayor and all the city council here. I'm going to pass some information out, if you would make sure each one of those get that. And there's some copies for the public, those that would like to have a copy of this information. Somebody can pass it out. It's available. The information that I'm going to share. See, I just want to share some things with us that you might not understand and might not know. All I'm going to do is point out some facts. I'm not trying to make you believe anything other than what you read. You can see it. You can see it for yourself. In here, it talks about 2 weeks ago, 3 in the chambers. Mr. Brummett walked into the chambers after having been interviewed in the Civic Center parking lot. Joining Mr. Brummett was Amy Irene White, a resident of Sheridan. The video recording of the interview was uploaded to social media, and a summary of comments made appeared for a brief time on the Pine Bluff commercial website. As reported by the commercial, both Brummett and White pleaded for racial harmony in Pine Bluff, and that Brummett has apologized for using what the local branch of the NAACP and others have dubbed a racially charged term during a heated online exchange with former Pine Bluff resident Jim Cunningham. In Facebook exchanges later that same evening, Mr. Brummett thanked his newfound ally for your efforts, and also revealed to her that as opposed to promoting harmony, his primary thoughts focused on how to manipulate 3 other council members. I've got to get Holcomb, Boyd, and Mays to stay with me. And why you may wonder why I bring this information to the council, let me tell you the cursory review of Ms. White's 3 different Facebook pages. In March this year, Ms. White used a vulgar reference, and you'll be able to see it in there. Reference to the female body part of our mayor. And I shared it with the mayor. And she knows this was, now this is the same person that Mr. Brummett has aligned himself with. Several times, Ms. White makes a party of Mr. Cunningham's name being spared as Cunningham, and used the Muppet character, Kermit the Frog, and a cartoon character called the Wicked Bitch, to make it very vulgar, intentionally spreading the word. And as to racial harmony, Ms. White's separate posting that refers to the First Lady of the United States as an ape and a baboon, and recently her posting, we had pure clean bloodedness until they came over here and muddied it all up. And you can see the explicit words in your handout. Idiot baboons and these apes are reveals what she truly thinks and who she really is. Mr. Brummett and his friends bring to mind a passage from Matthew chapter 7:15. Beware false prophets who come to you in sheep clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. These issues facing this council is not whether Bill Brummett has apologized to Jimmy Cunningham, not whether Mr. Cunningham accepted and said of the apology. These issues is whether we are giving the citizens of Pine Bluff the leadership they deserve by allowing this face of bigotry to continue to participate in city council meetings with us. Mr. Brummett aligned himself with Ms. White indicates his true character. His half-page campaign and added apology in the Pine Bluff commercial was not based on true remorse, but on what he apparently believed was political expedience. His continuous presence in these chambers brings a stain of shame on this city, and to paraphrase the editorial writing of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, causes a distraction and exhibits his lack of honor. Now, those are the words that came on his Facebook. I didn't write them. I just copied them. And that's how he truly feels. And I've shared them with everybody that's concerned. That's why I want the mayor to have her copy and everybody to get a copy of what has been out there on that Facebook. It is important, and we've shared this many times, we need to stay off of that Facebook. You don't know who's on the other end of those Facebook. You might not do anything, but you could start a war with other peoples that don't even live in this city and saying the kind of thing that has been said. And I think it is a shame that we align ourselves with those kind of people, because it only brings problems to our city, not because of our own doing, but because of outsiders. That's in my report, Mayor.
Public Safety, Alderman Walker.
Yes, we had a public safety meeting this afternoon prior to council, and Sean Howell gave a report for the fire department. I think each council member had one in front of their desk. And also, Chief Howell was recommending that people call
Be approved, make sure that we've got all the proper documentation.
This needs to be talked about in depth, because it has a lot of confusion in it. This really needs to be talked about in depth, okay? It really does.
Can we say something about it now? I just want to make a comment.
That's what we were talking about.
And the thing is, only thing I see in here, they're mentioning specific businesses, and I don't know, should we put something in the law that says that we are supposed to do business with these companies? I think that we should leave that part open to whoever we want to do business with, because we may decide that we don't want to do business with whoever is listed as a company. I don't think that should be part of the ordinance.
Okay, we can discuss that at the committee meetings.
Okay, well, I just want to get that out there
Yeah.
so it won't be forgotten that, that needs to be looked at, to list a company by law that we have to do business with this company. I don't think that is something that we should put into effect, so.
because it's permanently locking in certain
Right.
businesses to
There you go. So I think that definitely needs to be looked at, so.
Okay, thank you. We have a resolution authorizing the police department to utilize administration costs allowed in grants to compensate civilian employee for monitoring spending and expense associated with the grant.
Whereas in grants for the police department, there is a 10% allocation for administration costs. And whereas this sum may be used to compensate an employee charged with monitoring the spending and expenses from grant funds and maintaining the records associated therewith. And whereas this task has been performed by a uniformed officer, and transferring the job to a civilian employee will free a police officer to meet needs in other areas of the departments. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the Pine Bluff Police Department is authorized to utilize the administration costs allowed in grants to compensate a civilian employee designated by the Chief of Police to perform the work in monitoring spending and expenses and associated record keeping associated with the grants, heretofore performed by a uniformed officer. The Finance Department shall coordinate with the Police Department to accomplish the foregoing.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that a resolution authorizing the police department to utilize administration cost allowed in grants to compensate civilian employee for monitoring spendings and expenses associated with the grant. Floor is now open for discussion. Yes, sir.
Thank you. This 10% does not take place without grants, period, so it doesn't cost the city any money.
That's
at all.
correct. It comes from the grant.
Just want to make sure that's clear, that it's not costing the city anything. Without a grant, there's no 10%.
Correct. Yes, sir.
That was kind of what I was saying. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a situation where we were paying someone and then all of a sudden we were out of grants and then they're saying, well, hey, are we having to make up this later on? So it's just
Grant
something I want to
funded.
be clear.
Yes, sir.
so.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm sorry.
Line 13 and 14, if you don't mind, before we cast that vote. Whereas the sum, Joe, can you look at line 13 and 14?
The whereas portion is the part that you need to be concerned with is the part that falls below the now therefore be it resolved. That portion is what's going to be enacted.
Okay, Can you repeat that in the microphone, please?
Sorry, I can hear me. The whereas is just an introductory, it's just introductory language. The language that you should focus on is the language below the now therefore portion of the resolution.
Another question. So
It says it used to compensate the employee charged with monitoring and spending an expense of the grant. So this is going to take care of their money.
Say it one more time.
Yes,
Right, it's going to take care of the person that's monitoring the grants, that 10% will.
yes.
Okay. So, okay, just wanted to make sure. All right.
Okay,
good.
yes, sir.
I know the grants may not be, I don't know how much the grants are, but we're saying if we had $1 million grant, that we're going to have $100,000 set aside to just pay somebody to keep up with it? Is that what we're saying? We're going to pay them $100,000 to keep up with the grant?
It could be seen that way. It depends upon how each grant is structured. Some have it and some don't. Not every grant does. And if the grants that do not, the department has to administer themselves, and it's an expense to the department then.
So how do we come up with this anyway? What is this? I mean, what were we doing in the past
Let me say
with
this.
the grant? Hold on, sir, I'm speaking.
It
I was
was,
going to answer your question.
it was, well, if you read it in here, it was a police officer that was administering the grants. So now they're wanting to move it over to a non-uniformed employee to release that police officer.
Excuse me, sir, sorry about that. I apologize for that.
Sorry.
Go ahead, you can explain
I
it
was just
too.
going to answer your question since I sponsored the legislation.
Yeah, right. I was going to ask you too.
Alderman Steps, would you like to add to this, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You correct, Mayor. Thank you. You said it all.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
You're going to, you're not?
No, I'm.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, it's like you had paused, you were going to add
No,
to it.
no,
Okay,
no, I
okay.
was, but you answered the question, so.
Did I do
think
okay
it-
with it?
Well,
You did great.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Mayor, may I say this here before Alderman Brown speak?
I may be misinformed or may be on a bad trail somewhere. So let me just say what I thought, the reason why this took place. Somewhere along the line, I think the police department had an extra employee that was over, is that correct? Anybody know? It was and nobody was keeping up with it, and this is what this person is gonna keep up with, how many police officers gonna be involved in this grant. I think what we did, and Mr. Whitfield, is he here? Would you like to speak on that for me a minute? Yes,
Alderman
thank you.
Steps, I think.
Let me speak on it now.
Thank you.
The problem we've had in the past, not only with the police department, but any grants, is people monitoring them. All this is, there was a $60,000 grant that was available for the police department, and they were gonna pay 10% for somebody to monitor them. And that's what this took place, and it didn't have anything to do with what went back in the past and how many employees. See, I don't wanna dig up some stuff that's not dealing with this. This was dealing with a $60,000 grant, and there was $6,000 that were available for 10% of the grant. And you asked the question if it was $1 million grant. Suppose it was $1 million grant. Are we in a position to block somebody when somebody else is paying it? Because you got to have somebody to monitor these grants. It's important, because what happened, when you get a grant out here, and if it's not handled properly, you can end up paying them people back money because we didn't have nobody to properly manage it and keep up with the resources and the thing that went on with the grant.
But thank you,
And
George.
that's what it was all about.
George, thank you, but what I was saying was, I think it was a mistake somewhat that an employee was, in other words, there should have been a certain amount of employee that was paid, but an extra employee was paid because they didn't really keep up with that grant money. And I think this is where that position comes in, that this person's gonna make sure that nothing is under, nothing is over.
I didn't make a mistake when I sponsored the legislation.
I understand
I
that.
said the legislation had to do with a $60,000 grant. That's what this resolution is about. It wasn't about what happened 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was dealing with a $60,000 grant, and that's what this resolution is about. And I think that what we ought to be voting on is either you vote it up or you vote it down. down because that's what it's related to. That's why I sponsored legislation, and that's because I understood what this was all about. It's dealing with a $60,000 grant.
I
Well-
agree.
Just on this.
It's a resolution, not an ordinance.
Not an ordinance, it's a resolution.
It just takes care of this one particular grant.
Right.
After that, well, then, the rest is negotiated as to, the amount that has to be used for each grant and the way that it's handled.
But I'm.
Alderman
in here-
Alderman Holcomb has the floor.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, sir.
that we vote?
Yes, sir.
We discussed
It's on the
this.
floor, yes.
Well, I mean, we're still in discussion, sir. So, well, first of all, let me say this, and I'll be finished. I just want to apologize for cutting you off, Alderman Steps, a while ago. I didn't mean to do that. You accept my apology on that.
It's done.
But on lines, okay, so this is like a new position.
No, sir.
No.
It's an employee within the police department that is going to monitor the grant money.
That's already on the payroll.
Yes, sir.
This is my question. If this is for a specific grant, then why don't we have the grant listed?
It's already been awarded, I'm assuming.
No, that's what I'm saying. So if we just say, open it up to any grant that's out there, that means that every time we have a grant, then there's going to that same person is going to keep making 10% of that grant every time. To me, it seems like it needs to be grant specific. If we're going to do that, then we need to have it set up where,
Mayor.
this particular grant, then,
Mayor,
When you get through.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I asked for, Officer, Chief Whitfield to come and explain it to us, and it was denied. Can he come talk to us for a minute?
Do we have a question on it? Do you have a specific question for Mr.
He
Whitfield?
can clear up where the people that are having problems, he can clear it up.
Mayor, here's what I was gonna say.
George, Alderman Steph, can he speak to
He
us?
can come, he can
Thank
do it,
you.
I'm talking to the mayor. The mayor answered the question explicitly. She said each grant stands on its own merits. There might be different languages in one grant versus another grant. All these grants are not gonna read the same way, and it has to do with the particulars that's in the grant. And I'm trying to figure out how we get to where we are with $6,000 grant that somebody's paying. And it is brought up all these questions on line 13, line 14.
but there's nothing in here that says what grant it is. There's no specific grant in here. It's just general.
It don't make no difference. It's not gonna cost the city anything.
If the grant speaks that it has got an administrative clause to it, then that person within the police department will administer that grant. If it doesn't, then it won't go to that. But Chief Whitfield, would you please explain?
To the mayor and the council, thank you all for considering this issue. I will say that the problem we're having is that we have a full-time police officer handling our grants. We're getting ready to have a summer camp, and we need to relieve that officer of a portion or majority of that grant duty. And we need to have a clerk, a civilian employee to pick it up. This particular grant did have a 10% administrative cost that we could claim. We applied for a grant today, $330,000 with no administrative fee in it at all. We applied, we had to do it before 12 o'clock midnight, we did it at 4:45. If that grant came through, we would expect that same civilian personnel
Right.
to handle that $300,000 grant
Exactly.
without a dime extra cost. So it's a win-win, and as Mr. Steph said, it does not cost the city anything. And we would love to have a $1 million grant and have to come back to the council and say, we got $100,000 that we want somebody to administer. I'll assure you, if that happens, we'll come back to you to inform you that we got a grant that's X amount of dollars, and it's gonna, maybe at the time, we can hire somebody to administer it, and you get $100,000 to do that. So that's what it is. It is about $6,300, which has already been approved through Washington, the particular grant you voted on tonight. Anything else, we'll bring it back to you as we get other grants.
And let me
Any other
clear-
questions? Yes, sir.
Let me clear it up. I'm not saying that I'm against it. What I was saying is just that it's vague. It doesn't tell me what grant is there. There's no grant here. So for you to say that, this is a $6,000 grant or a $60,000 grant, I don't see it. So you're telling me to vote on something where I don't see what the grant is.
I don't think that you're voting on the grant specific.
I understand that.
you're voting on the fact that if the grant calls for an administrative cost or fee, then that fee will go to someone to administer the grant.
Okay.
That's what you're voting on, not a particular grant. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I heard you, and I've kind of gotten into this, we talked about this some time back. But what I would like for you to explain is, why is it now? See, because I know, but why is it now? Why did this come to us now? It was, police department's changing so much, and we're really trying to, our budget's being cut, and we have to look for extra revenue, and grants is the best thing going. So therefore, if you're gonna be eager and really striving to get it, you better have somebody to manage it. Because if you fail to manage it, someone said tonight, you'll wind up having to pay something back. So to hold somebody accountable for it and not compensate them for it would not be fair. So we feel like if we can hold somebody accountable that we pay, then we can bring them to the table. And that's why it's now, because it's available to us. And in the past, we've done it, actually, we've done this in the past. This is not the first time we've done this. Some years ago, we've done the same thing.
My question, last question is this. The civilian employee, is the grant's gonna cover their salary, or is it gonna be added to their salary, the 10%?
My thinking is to be added to the salary, and we're hoping, I think someone said tonight, what if the grant goes away? Then the money goes away. If in 2016, if there's no grant, there's no money. So they understand that. Right.
So it's pertaining to a particular grant,
Yes, ma'am.
not
Every
any grant.
grant, we'll come back to this council if you all say you want to see us on every grant. If we're going to have administrative costs, we have no problem. But if it doesn't have administrative costs, we still want that person to do it, because some training would be involved in it. So if you all say bring it back to you on every grant. If I had to answer, I think you're looking for accountability. I think that's what you're looking for. Yes, sir. Yeah. What I said, we're looking for accountability. We want to pay for it. Right.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
It may be that, of course, this resolution, it doesn't, this, city attorney, this resolution would not cover all grants anyway, right?
It will cover all grants that are received by the police department. Any grant received by them, if there is an administrative cost that's included within the grant, then those are the monies that the police department will use to pay that person, their personnel. So it is all grants.
Well, yeah, maybe it can be added in, but I wonder if it's a grant like this, it already covered and said, but that it could be, should be brought back to the city council, but it would have to be reworded.
What do you want it to say, Ms. Walker?
But Chief Whitfield just said about bringing each grant back to the council, but with this, it would not.
Correct. So you just want to approve a particular grant?
Because chances are, if by some strange happenings that we get a $1 million grant, we'll probably need more than one person to administer it anyway. Am I correct? Rather than just a
full-time.
right, rather than just a person that already is working, then you would put all of this responsibility for $1 million grant on that one person.
Any other questions or comments? Let's go ahead and vote on this, unless there's any other questions. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So, so we're saying if we get $1 million grant, it will not come back to the council. Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
I agree with you adding that, amending that to that now. Because of all.
There's no amendment at this point because the resolution was passed.
Okay, Mayor, we have a resolution declaring certain houses, buildings, and or structures as nuisance and ordering their abatement.
Oh.
She got started.
Oh, got it. Whereas,
For adoption.
Second. Good job, George.
Do I have a second?
Yes, ma'am. Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution declaring certain houses, buildings, and/or structures as nuisance and ordering their abatement. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we
Moving-
have a resolution authorizing the mayor to convey real property to Evergreen Packaging.
whereas the city is the owner of certain real property described in Exhibit A hereto, and whereas the city holds title to the property as part of agreements with International Paper Company relating to the issuance of a series of City of Pine Bluff environmental revenue improvement bonds issued in 1998, 99, and 2000. And whereas it is a term of said agreements that the real property would be released by IP, and upon the bonds being paid in full, IP had the option to purchase the real property and all improvements thereon for a nominal consideration. And whereas IP has assigned all its rights under the said agreements to Evergreen Packaging Company, and whereas documentary proof has been provided by the bond-paying agent that the bonds have been paid in full, and there is no outstanding balance or claim remaining for payment, and whereas Evergreen has made written requests to the city to convey the real estate and improvements thereon to the company in accordance with the agreements. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1. The City Council finds that the bonds and the associated costs have been fully paid, and that all other predicate conditions have been met, and that the conveyance of the real estate to Evergreen Packaging for the nominal consideration is consistent with the city's responsibility under the agreements. Section 2, the mayor is authorized and directed to execute and deliver a warranty deed to Evergreen Packaging Company or to the company's designee conveying the following described real property, which is on Exhibit A. Section 3, the mayor is further authorized to and directed to execute bills of sale and such other documents necessary to fully effect the transfer of the improvements and fixtures located on the described real property to the company. Section 4, the city clerk is authorized to attest the mayor's signature and any document as needed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution authorizing the mayor to convey real property to Evergreen Packaging. Floor is now open for discussion.
Mayor, if Mr. Childress would explain this maybe to the rest of the council, because I did have some questions. I think questions is sort of mild, because it was sort of an out, because we're talking about 200 acres of land or something like that. And it was not fully explained in order to vote on it, but I did call Joe Children, and I would like for him to explain to the council so that we will know what we're voting on.
Okay.
I agree with it, but I think the council should know as well.
Okay.
Well, I did a diagram.
Wow. Professionally done.
I don't think, I'm not sure I can interpret it well, but what this does, or what this comes from is, most of you may have heard the term Act 9 bonds, industrial bonds. This goes back all the way to the 60s. The city and company would agree that in return for the city issuing bonds, which would be sold, of course, the city would then loan the proceeds to company. Company would deed the real estate upon which it was going to construct the plant back to the city as security for ensuring that the bonds were paid. Of course, on this property would be erected the plant, which would be worth a lot of money. And the company then would pay the bonds off over a period of time. Well, and the city would lease the property back to the company. After they get through paying off the bonds, one of the terms of the original agreement was they could then repurchase the property where the plant is for a nominal consideration. And that's what happened here with the national paper. There's a file about this thick in the city clerk's office about these bonds being issued. In fact, there were 3 different series of bonds actually issued. And it basically was just to modernize, to initially construct, modernize, and to bring into environmental compliance some of the facilities out there. But we've been informed that they have in fact paid off all the bonds, and they've now made request, Evergreen has, as the successor to International Paper, that we just convey the property to them in accordance with the agreement for, it says nominal consideration, which usually means it's $1 or $10 or $100. And it's just all part of the original agreement. In return for them bringing their plant here, employing our people, building this facility, financing was arranged. They paid it off like they were supposed to, and to complete the deal, we convey the property back to them.
With all the improvements.
Yeah, with the plant on it and everything like that. Yes. Yeah, it's been this, actually started in the 60s with what was called Act 9, and it's been done many times.
Explain this to high school students. It can be complicated.
Well, yes, it can be. And that's why the file's that thick.
Well, Joe, I have a question. Okay, you have so many tracks. Is the bottom number of acreage is what? And what's the price per acre and on the total land?
Well, the total acreage is 216 acres, but it's not being sold per acre. It's just $100 to buy the whole thing back, the whole 216 acres.
They owned it anyway.
It's like a goodwill.
They owned it, and they're just wanting it back now. We're just conveying title back to them.
Yes, I mean, it is goodwill. They built the plant, and they employed everybody, and they did their part of the bargain, and this is just our carrying out our end of it since they did theirs.
Any other questions for Mr. Childers? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a resolution appointing Julie H. Johnson to the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission.
Whereas the term of Chad Kelly as a member of the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission has expired, and whereas the mayor has elected to appoint Julie H. Johnson to succeed Mr. Kelly, subject to council approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the mayor's appointment of Julie H. Johnson to the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission to serve a term to expire May 1st, 2018 is hereby approved and confirmed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. A resolution appointing Julie H. Johnson to the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing, yes, sir.
Ms. Johnson here?
That's what I was just looking to see, and I don't, Ms. Deep? Okay, no, she's not. Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a resolution appointing David W. Trulock to the Pine Bluff Historic Commission.
Whereas the term of Jack Stradley as a member of the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission has expired, and whereas the mayor has elected to appoint David W. Trulock to succeed Mr. Stradley, subject to council approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the mayor's appointment of David W. Trulock to the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission to serve a term to expire May 1st, 2018 is hereby approved and confirmed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution appointing David W. Trulock to the Pine Bluff Historic District Commission. Floor is now open for discussion. Is Mr. Trulock here? We all know Mr. Trulock. He used to work for the city. Okay, any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a resolution commending Mr. Ken Johnson for outstanding performance as manager of the Pine Bluff Wastewater Utility and congratulating him for receiving the 2014 Mike Thomason Wastewater Manager of the Year.
Whereas Ken Johnson.
Is Mr. Johnson here? Oh, there you are. You're hiding behind the column.
Can you come up front, Mr. Johnson? Yes.
All right.
Yes, come on up, please. Yes, please. You want to stand while we read it? Yes, oh no, we want you to stand up there, please. Thank you.
Whereas Ken Johnson for many years served as manager of the Pine Bluff Wastewater Utility, and whereas under his leadership, the utility has received numerous awards and citations for excellence and is recognized throughout the state as one of the state's best wastewater and sewer utilities. And whereas Mr. Johnson was recently honored by the Arkansas Water Environmental Association as the 2014 Mike Thomason Wastewater Manager of the Year in recognition for his outstanding work in the field. And whereas the City Council desires to commend Mr. Johnson for his excellent work and congratulate him for being honored by his peers. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that we, the Mayor, and the members of the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff hereby commend Mr. Ken Johnson for his outstanding work as Manager of Wastewater Utility. We further add our appreciation for his dedicated service and our congratulations for his recognition as the Mike Thomason Wastewater Manager of the Year by his peers.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the resolution commending Mr. Ken Johnson for outstanding performance as manager of the Pine Bluff Wastewater Utility and congratulating him receiving the 2014 Mike Thomason Wastewater Manager of the Year Award. Floor is now open for discussion. Yes, sir.
If my co-counsel would like to co-sponsor this?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm sure there's none. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. He runs a top-notch division, I
Absolutely.
must say.
Absolutely. Mayor, we have a resolution appropriating funds for the Dalloway Safe Route to School project.
Whereas the city has received a grant from the Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department for funding the Dalloway Safe Route to School project, and whereas the project will extend from Percy Drive west on King Street to Willow Street to Dalloway School and will provide improved and safer transit for school children. And whereas the estimated project cost is $221,000 and the grant amount is $171,000, leaving the city to allot the sum of $50,000 to complete the project. And whereas this project is in the public interest and the council desires to provide funding to ensure its completion. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, there is hereby appropriated from street and drainage funds the sum of $50,000 to fund the construction of Dalloway Safe Route to School project. The Finance Department will ensure the funds are made available for this purpose.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution appropriating funds for the Dalloway Safe Route to School project be approved. Floor is now open for discussion.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Line 11, that's Percy. Shouldn't it be Prexy? LA, going west on King Street to Willow to Dalloway, and will provide, improve, or safer transit for school children.
Oh, you're saying the spelling is wrong. It's not Percy Drive, it's L.A. Prexy Drive? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Right.
It's L.A. Prexy?
Okay. It's been taken care of. Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Does that conclude our
That concludes
agenda?
our agenda, Mayor.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Mayor, I want to comment on the handout from Alderman Stead. And Alderman Drummond sits proudly with Drummond Rally, with Mrs. White. And speaking about his remarks about Mr. Cunningham. And he is aligning himself with pictures of her, with her, in the newspaper and on Facebook. And then he says that he is sorry. I don't believe he is sorry. Some of this stuff in this paper just makes you sick to your stomach, that you would have a person in the city of Pine Bluff that is supposed to be representing Pine Bluff, and some of the language that this woman is using about bloodline and all that kind of stuff, it just makes you angry and sick. And he doesn't have anything to say. He's not sorry. He needs to resign.
Okay, do we have a motion on the floor? Have we already dismissed? I'm sorry, I'm confused. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. We do have public comments, non-agenda items. First person signed up to speak is Mr. Jihad Muhammad, sir, and you have 3 minutes, please.
All right, thank you, council and citizens of Pine Bluff. Like some of the other alderpersons mentioned, I'm deeply disturbed with respect to Alderman Garmer's racist activism. I see in some of Miss Amy's white comment that she mentioned black Muslims. I'm a Muslim. Been in this city for years. I don't take pride in knowing that we have a council member who is racist, who goes out of his way to be racist. He was out of town about a month ago when we did the press conference calling for his resignation, and some of his supporters came and said, we're here to support Mr. Brumman because he's out of town in hiding. Is that right? He's in hiding for fear of his life. And so several white bikers came, toting crosses and United States flags, saying we're here to support Mr. Brumman, we're here to defend him because some folks got him scared. And he told us he was out of town and we're here for him. The same people, and it's on video, he did not condemn. He turned around and got and did an interview with the people, the next council meeting. Now, if he's not in support of that, why would he do something like that? It don't take a rocket scientist to see that when somebody stand up and say, look, I need all you all to meet in Pine Bluff. Everybody in Arkansas, there's some black folks down there, and they trying to do a Ferguson. I want y'all to meet that big red over here. But we're going to go down to the Pine Bluff. We're going to put a stop to this. So when they came up in support of Mr. Brumman, they had on their mind starting to rock. I want you to understand that. While Mr. Brumman was out of town, he was sending his clansmen to Pine Bluff to start a riot. And they came ready to fight. So much that the police captain had to step in between them and this brother here who was putting up his equipment. So I want you to understand that at this point, I'm going to ask our people, black people in this town, who have suffered 460 years of blunt racism in this country, to do everything that they can to get you off the council simply because you have aligned yourself with racist people who are coming into Pine Bluff to cause violence. Not to voice their opinion, but to incite violence. This woman said right here, the black folks are trying to pull a Ferguson. All you white folks, y'all need to come down now. And it could have started something while you throwing your rocket high in the hand, and that's wrong. As a council person, you should resign. If you have any respect for that seat, any respect for the city, one blunder after the next. Even if you say this was mistakes. You have made some mistakes when you should say, man, I'm messing up. My mind ain't right. I have enough love for this city that my mind is not right. I'm going to step aside out of my love for the city and let somebody else take the ring. Maybe they can do a better job. 17 years. That's right. 17 years. The people will honor the service that you put in. But at the end of your career, you're going down the road track.
Okay. Next person, Sam Whitfield, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. To the mayor, to the council members, to those who are present, I speak tonight out of concern. I am a concerned citizen of this community. And first of all, I want to say, we go out a lot of things here tonight to Mr. George Stips, who presented these facts to this council and to this community. And I know, Mr. Stips, the newspaper's not going to print everything called the names, so I'm gonna call the names. You said you want to keep Reverend Holcomb and Reverend Ball and Mr. May. If you can just keep them
In your pocket.
in your pocket, you got it made. You, a white man, the only white person sitting on this council, and the town is 80% black. You fail to respect black people.
How you get there?
I'm gonna tell you the truth. You fail to respect black people. If you make these types of statements, you're gonna keep these men in your pocket. That's the old 1960 antics.
That's right.
I'm gonna tell you that, Mr. Brumman, in case you don't know. The best thing you can do for this city, go home. I, Mr. Muhammad, and a lot of other people in this town are gonna come to this meeting, every meeting that you attend, and we're gonna protest, peaceful protest, until you go home. And if need be, we're gonna recall you. I make no bones about it. We're gonna recall you. It is time for you to go home.
Okay, Mr. Danny Walker?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, citizens of Pine Bluff. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Danny Walker, and I'm here to speak about what happened at the last city council meeting. I would like to say that I am here not only as the son of Alderman Walker, but as a citizen and a registered voter of this city. Pine Bluff has been in the news for years and none of it positive. On any given day, you will find Pine Bluff mentioned and it's about crime or something with this city council. Nothing positive. It is a trend that people in this city seem to be immune to. Under the watch of this city council, another one of his famous no confidence votes was voted on. This time against one of their own, Alderman Bluff, for something posted on social media. Some of these same council members have publicly or privately said much worse.
Amen.
This issue is and should not be concern of this city council. I went to school with Jimmy Cunningham, and he's a friend of mine. I personally wasn't offended by the post, you know. And for over a year, I have seen exchanges between him and Alderman Brumman, as well as others. Am I speaking on behalf of Alderman Brumman? No. I know very little about him except that he, along with other council members, have not progressed this city in the last 6 to 8 years. Again, the issue between him and Mr. Cunningham should not be the city council's concern.
That's right.
Alderman Brumman, like every member on this city council, is elected and can be replaced if and when the people of his ward choose to vote him out. In the last 5 years, I challenge anyone on this city council to show me one business or 5 jobs that were created in their ward that they had something to do with. The citizens of Pine Bluff have seen tax money being bounced around to the general fund that was supposed to be used for special projects. But yet the bickering continues. We have sat by and watched you spend $700,000 on what I call an outhouse on Pullen Street. Is that your definition of a splash park? If so, I hope you are extremely proud of it. The citizens are not.
We allowed a few more comments, but we need to wind it up, sir.
Mayor, I'm almost finished.
Okay.
Okay, a qualified grant writer needs to be hired along with a law firm that specializes in employment law. If some of these things were put in place, maybe the council would stop giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawsuit settlements. In closing, I am going to say that the city will not survive with an all-black city council, nor a white. It will take everyone, white and black, working together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just wanted to thank the minister earlier during the prayer for remembering our granddaughter. She is missing, has been missing for over a week. She's 18 years old. She's the daughter of my daughter that died of cancer, and her father died, had a heart attack. So she lost both of her parents before she was 14. She's now 18, and we can't find her. So I'd ask you to please pray for her, because we're really worried. Thank you.